Hey everybody, hope and pray that you're doing well today as we come to our word from the word. And today, that word is better. Better. Going back to yesterday, look, when you quit pouting and you start praising, even though as we're talking about Jonah doesn't get there. Jonah doesn't get to that point in the end of the book where he is praising. We're kind of left with a question mark at the end of the book. But for us, the point is, look, when we quit pouting, we start praising, things start to get better. And that's why the word today is better, because I want you to notice something that happens to Jonah and then what God prepares, God allows, and God's design. God has a plan. He's still trying to teach Jonah something, and I believe he's trying to teach us something as well. Even though the application may be a little different for us. But let's just jump right in on this word better. From Jonah chapter 4, we're in verse 6 today. It says, and the Lord God prepared a plant. This could be a vine, a gourd. Your translation of the Bible may say one of those. But he prepared a plant and made it come up over Jonah, that it might be shade for his head to deliver him from his misery. So Jonah was grateful for the plant. Now, you notice that God prepared this plant. Now, whatever kind of plant it was, it really doesn't matter. It's just like the fish that God prepared. There's been a lot of speculation as to what type of fish it was. And at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. I mean, it could have been a prepared fish for just such an occasion. It could have been a prepared plant for just such an occasion for it to grow up so quickly and provide shade. And this is shade from the heat. While remember what Jonah's doing. While Jonah's sitting there waiting to see if Nineveh is going to be destroyed. Remember, he's hoping that God is going to change his mind again. And this is where he's sitting there pouting. Well, it's kind of funny that there's really two different ways you can look at this. The purpose was that God prepared this plant to shade Jonah. The purpose was to deliver him from his misery, deliver him from his evil thoughts. Is even one way you can look at it. That God was trying to almost, if Jonah's being hot-headed, God is trying to cool his temper. You can use that application there a little loosely. You can kind of see that there, but really when it comes down to it, he is delivering him from his physical pain at the moment, right? His physical suffering at the moment from this great heat. You think about the desert heat, and as he's looking out over Nineveh for a long time, right? I mean, his message was in 40 days. So, this is probably still at least a month that he's out here just waiting, pouting. And so God provides this plant, but we're going to see. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but we'll see tomorrow how God is really going to turn things. He's got two more things prepared, just like the fish in this vine or plant that he prepared. He's got two more things prepared. But here's what I want us to notice with better is, as I was looking back, you notice that Jonah was grateful for the plant. And it got me to looking back, and I was thinking, man, has he been thankful or grateful for anything else? So as I'm going back, I'm looking, I'm like, well, he's been defiant. I mean, he ran when God told him what he needed to do. He's been lazy, right? He has been, or even comfortable, as we said, laying there asleep in the boat while the storm is going on, and the other mariners are fighting for their lives. And he was even in that exchange there with the other people on the boat. He was prideful at times, where he wasn't even willing to tell them what had happened. And then after the lights pointed to him, he says, "Okay, well maybe it is me, but look, I fear God. Yes, the same God that is causing all of this." Yeah, he was prideful even in all that. He did become repentant after God prepared the fish and swallowed him up. And so after 3 days in the belly of a fish, now all of a sudden he does become repentant at that time. Then he becomes an evangelist. And so, you kind of see this going from defiant, running the other way, coming back, doing what God had called him to do. But then, as we've been talking about this week, man, he was angry with God. He was angry with God because he wasn't getting his way. And then he was even, you could basically call it suicidal to a point. He said, look, it's better for me to die than to go on living, seeing the Ninevites still alive. And so then we saw him pouting yesterday for not getting his way. Now, that's not just a recap of all the videos that we've talked about, but it's also an idea for us to look at that says, well, wait a minute. Why are things all of a sudden to the point where he can be grateful? So as I was looking, there's two times in the book of Jonah where things get better for Jonah. Now, there's plenty of times where they got worse, right? I don't know about you, but spending all that time in the belly of a fish, that's worse. And as I often say, some things can sometimes be better, but they can always be worse, right? No matter what we're going through. And I don't know, maybe, I still don't want to get ahead of myself, but have you ever just, maybe even this morning as you wake up and you watch this video that you think, look, today is going to be a better day than yesterday. But do you really know? And see, that's part of the struggle that we have. So there's two times in the book of Jonah where things get better. It was when God had prepared a fish to deliver him from certain death. And it was when God prepared this plant to provide and deliver him from the physical pain and suffering that he was in. In both cases, Jonah was thankful. And back in chapter 3, verse 9, we see that he said, with a voice of thanksgiving. So he was thankful there. And this was even before he's rescued completely, but he understands that God had prepared this fish that saved him from death. He hadn't been yet spit out on dry ground, but he knew that salvation was from God. And so he was thankful. He had a heart of thanksgiving. But now we see that because this plant has all of a sudden provided him shade, that now all of a sudden he is grateful again. But as I was thinking about this, finally things were better. But why is he so thankful for the salvation from his physical pain, his salvation from his suffering, but yet he's still angry at God for God saving the Ninevites from their suffering? And this is the point that God's trying to make with him. And so as I'm thinking about this and how it would apply to us today, the Lord just kind of spoke to me and said, well, what do we call better? Well, what do you call a better day? Right? Today's going to be a better day than yesterday. But does that mean it'll be better today because you're going to do things your way? Or is it going to be better because you're going to allow God to do what he wants to do? Now, the only reason that Jonah could look at these moments and be grateful and to really consider things were better because he had finally had a heart change, at least a little bit, to be thankful for what he had, to be grateful for what was provided. But in just a split second, in a moment, we're going to see that change goes right on back the other way. And we'll talk about that tomorrow. But for you today, this is just a simple question. I'm going to leave it at this. The days that you call better, is that based on your standards? Or is it based on God's? Right? For us, as believers, a better day should be a day that we're closer in our relationship with him. That we're closer in our walk, closer in our prayer life, closer in his word by diving in a little deeper every day. That should be what's better. Maybe the way that your day can be better today is because you see him at work more than you did yesterday. Doesn't mean he wasn't working yesterday, but maybe you weren't looking yesterday like you can be today. So let me just encourage you with this. If you want your day and your week and your month in 2020, right? If you want your life to be better, it doesn't have anything to do with what you want. It has everything to do with who you serve. and how you look at the God of all creation. Part of Jonah's downfall was that he saw God as a loving and merciful God to him, but he never saw him as a loving, merciful God to everyone. So if you want to have a better day, maybe start seeing things the way that God sees them. It's at least a thought, right? God bless you, and I pray you have a great, great day.